I've spent the last week working just from the 10th gen iPad. I put away my iPad Pro. In fact, I just got it out so I can put my outline of my script up while I film this video, so I remember my talking points. But I've been working entirely from this iPad since I got back from vacation, and I have a lot of thoughts about it. This video is sponsored by Ugreen. Okay, so first off, let's talk about the design. This has been talked about a lot already, but obviously it's been completely redesigned from what the 9th gen and the previous iPads look like. There's no home button. It has the flat edges. It comes in colors now. The one I have here is yellow, but I would say it's more of like a mustard gold to me, at least. It's not very bright and yellowy, kind of like the back of that 24-inch iMac. It's very goldish mustard color. But I am really happy to see the iPad now, kind of has a universal design language for the modern iPads. The flat edges, the home button's gone, either Touch ID and the lock button like it is here, or Face ID on the iPad Pros. It is really nice to see like a consistent design language. Now, the first thing you kind of notice when you start using this iPad, especially if you've used like an iPad Pro or one of the new iPad Airs in the past, is it's not a laminate display. Basically what that means is the display itself and the glass has like a bit of gap. So when you're using something like the iPad Pro, and you tap on an icon, it actually feels like you're hitting the icon because there's no gap there. Like it literally feels like the icon is at the top level surface. On this, like you can totally tell like the glass is on top and the display is underneath. It's really not the end of the world at all, but it's one of those things. I truly think the laminate display of the iPad is one of the best upgrades the iPad has ever got. But my favorite feature about this iPad is the front-facing camera has now been moved to the landscape or long edge. That way when you have it in a case or a keyboard case, the camera is on the proper angle. It's not off to the side and down below. It's at the highest point it could be on the iPad. Now, that being said, when it is in cases and stuff like that, it is still really low to the ground. So you have that weird angle where the camera is looking up your nose. Not great, but honestly, there's not a whole lot, Apple can do about that. Ultimately, like the camera is fine. It has center stage. Had to slow down to make sure I didn't say stage manager. It has center stage, so it tracks where you go. It looks fine. It's nothing to write home about, but you know what? It gets the job done, and ultimately, that's what that camera is supposed to do. One thing I was really excited about when this iPad was announced was the USB-C port. So Lightning is gone on the modern iPads. Now, I keep saying modern iPads, and I'll probably say it again in the future of this video because the 9th gen iPad is still for sale by Apple, but it's not going to get upgraded. Like it's literally there to hit a price point. So basically new iPads and new updated iPads that come out, they all have USB-C now. But the weird thing about this iPad is it's USB-C, but if you transfer data, it's transferring at USB 2.0 speeds, which is incredibly slow. It's just kind of a big bummer that for whatever reason they decided to go with USB 2.0 speeds. I can't think of a reason why they did that. Like, maybe there's a technical limitation, but gosh, I can't think of what that could be. This video is sponsored by Ugreen. Ugreen is the maker of a bunch of high quality tech accessories, and they are having a huge Black Friday sale. I have a couple of products here I want to share with you. The first is the Ugreen Nexode 65 watt USB-C desktop charger. This has 2 USB-C ports and 2 USB-A ports. This is perfect for putting on your desk and charging up your laptop, iPad, iPhone, and whatever else you got. This is a full GAN charger. The next product is the Ugreen tablet stand holder. This is great for needing to prop up an iPad wherever you are working. It has height and tilt adjust, so you can make it just about any angle you want. It works great with all the iPad sizes, from the mini to the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. The last product is the Ugreen USB-C hub. This is a 7-in-1 hub, and it supports 4K at 60 Hz, which is incredibly rare for a non-powered hub. It also has Ethernet, standard and micro SD card ports, 2 USB-A ports, and a USB-C port for charging. Like I mentioned, Ugreen is having a huge Black Friday sale, so I will put links to where you can go check out all of that stuff in the description below. My thanks to Ugreen for sponsoring this video. Now, on the software side of this, it runs iPadOS 16. I did a big walkthrough of that, so I'm not going to rehash all that. But there's some stuff in iPadOS 16 that this brand new iPad is not getting. First of all, it's not getting Stage Manager. So you're just using the classic split view method. So you can drag and drop apps into split view. You can put something in like a slide over if you want. That also means there's no true external monitor support coming to this iPad with iPadOS 16.2. It just has the classic mirroring mode. So when you plug it into a monitor, it mirrors what's on the screen. It doesn't give you an extra screen to work on. There's also no display scaling feature, which is one of my favorite bits for the M series iPads and the 2018 and 2020 11-inch iPad Pros. Basically what this does is it runs your iPad at a higher resolution, so everything looks smaller on screen, but you're able to fit more content on the display. Really nice. I like that feature a lot. It's been on all the iPads that I have that support it. It's been on since I upgraded them, and I don't plan on turning it off. The biggest controversy about this iPad is the Apple Pencil. It supports the first gen Apple Pencil. Despite it having a flat edge, so technically it could get a magnetic charger like the iPad Pros and iPad Air, it still uses that first gen Apple Pencil. Now you'll remember that I mentioned that this new iPad has a USB-C port, and you might already know that the first gen Apple Pencil has Lightning. So how does that work? Well, you have to use this adapter, which honestly isn't great. I'm not a big fan of it. So the way this works is if you buy a new Apple Pencil, so say you don't have an iPad at all, you buy this 10th gen iPad, you buy this first gen Apple Pencil, it comes with this adapter in the box now. Already have the first gen Apple Pencil, you can go out and get this adapter separately. Actually, I say go out, you have to go out and get it because you have to use this adapter to pair the iPad. Like, even if you have another way of charging it, you still have to have this adapter to pair the Apple Pencil to the iPad. So for me, for the week that I spent using it, I honestly just kept the cap of the Apple Pencil off and in a safe place, and I just left the adapter on it so that way I could plug it in. This adapter adapts it to USB-C, so you can just use the cable that comes with the 10th gen iPad to charge it and pair it. It worked fine. Honestly, if you are going this route, just take the cap off, leave the adapter on it. It looks silly, but it'll save you a headache. But there is another option. Logitech has brought their Crown line to this iPad. So the Logitech Crown was introduced years ago as a more affordable option to the Apple Pencil. It's $70, so it's a little closer to what the Apple Pencil is in the price range and stuff like that. But what's nice about this is it just has a USB-C port at the top. So you can take the USB-C cable that came with your iPad and just plug it right into this and charge it. It also has an on-off switch if that's something you're really into. The Apple Pencil does turn off automatically when it gets put to the side. It's away from the iPad and it's not being used. One thing that I used to do, and I got this idea from Mike Hurley of like the Relay podcast, is I used to use, when this Apple Pencil was the iPad Pro's Apple Pencil, I put a pen loop on my iPad and I'd put the Apple Pencil through it so that way it was always like right next to my iPad. But that meant it was always on and always paired, so the battery would die quite frequently. So this has an on and off switch. They both work really nice, but honestly, my conclusion after working from this iPad for a week is if you are an Apple Pencil user, this is not the iPad for you. The second generation Apple Pencil, the one that's on the iPad Pros, is such a massive upgrade because it can magnetically attach, it charges that way, it has lower latency. I know not everyone likes this, but I like the tap button. It's just a much better upgrade. So if you are somebody that is looking to get an iPad for heavy Apple Pencil use, start looking at the iPad Air line. Like, don't look at this iPad, go iPad Air. If you're somebody that wants to just doodle or maybe take notes every once in a while, this would be fine. This would be more than okay. but I wouldn't want to, like, if I, relied on the Apple Pencil for my work, if I was an artist or somebody that took a ton of handwritten notes, this is not a setup I would want to rely on because, again, you have to plug the pencil in or even the crown in to make sure it's charged. It's not always attached. When this Apple Pencil was the main Apple Pencil, the one on the iPad Pro, I would constantly lose it. Despite me having a pen loop for it, it was just kind of a pain. There is a new keyboard for this iPad. This is the Magic Folio keyboard. Opens up, and it has a kickstand, which is honestly something I never thought I'd see Apple do for an iPad. I was very surprised to see this. Now, there are some benefits of it having a kickstand as opposed to something like the Magic Keyboard. It has more air space in the typing area, so you have a function row and a larger trackpad, which is very nice. There's even an escape key, which is not something a lot of people are going to use, but it's something I appreciate. Now, because this is one of these smaller iPads, it doesn't have the full-size keyboard, so stuff like the tab key, the tilde key, return, they're a bit smaller, and honestly, that takes some getting used to. A week of working from it, I got used to it pretty quickly. So, yeah, it's not the end of the world. Like, it's not that big of a deal, but it is something I want to point out. Now, this next thing I'm going to mention is 100% a preference thing. I am not mad or upset or bashing this iPad or whatever. It's 100% a preference thing. I hate kickstands. I absolutely hate kickstands. I do not like this. I did not like working from this keyboard setup for a couple of reasons. So the first one, and it's the big major one, I like working out in my living room on my couch and just like having my iPad in my lap like a laptop with the Magic Keyboard. You know, it has this flat base. It's super sturdy. I can work there, no problem, just like that. This one, because it has a kickstand and like it's got this hinge piece and stuff like that, it is not sturdy to work on at all in your lap. It did not work for me whatsoever. I did not like it. The whole time I was just like, okay, I can't do this. And I just came back in here and worked at a desk. It did not work for me. The other issue besides working from your lap is with a kickstand and a tablet set up like this in normal typing mode. And I'm gonna angle it so like this is okay. This is the angle that I type at right here. So it takes up that much space. Now I'm going to bring the Magic Keyboard over here. Prop it back all the way. So Magic Keyboard cuts up right here. And then it takes up way more space. Now at a normal desk like this, not that big of a deal. Where this is going to be an issue is if you work in a car, if you work on a train, planes, trains, and automobiles. You know, if you work on one of those or something like that, where you have a limited amount of space, like a tray table, or like if you're in a tight office, or like you're at a park or something where you don't have a lot of space. That's where something like this is going to become a real pain. Because you don't have the ability to just adjust the hinge and not have some back piece. Because for this iPad, it could go all the way back, and that's as far back as it goes, and that's about my viewing angle right there, is about as far back as it goes. Now, I'm a bit taller, so that's why. Now, you can adjust it to be almost straight up, just like that, and it doesn't take up that much more space than the Magic Keyboard. Let me make sure these are still lined up properly. So you can kind of see, like, that's... I don't know. I just find that to be a little disappointing. My hope is Apple doesn't go this route for the iPad Pro. I really like the laptop style of the Magic Keyboard. Now, there are some things I would like to see improved and some ideas I have, but that's for an entirely different video. But what is really nice about this Magic Folio keyboard is the keyboard part detaches because the smart connector is right here on the bottom now. This detaches, so you can put it to the side. And the back cover piece is its own separate piece, so it just magnetically attaches to the iPad. And so you can have a kickstand for just viewing media. And this I really like. If this piece right here was its own separate product for the iPad Pro, I would probably buy one. Because I like using my iPad as like kind of like a TV, like a media viewing device and stuff like that. I really like this because it doesn't take up a ton of space. You can adjust it, unlike something like the Smart Folio covers. The names are so hard to remember now. So you can adjust this and do what you want with it. It's really nice. Now, when using the keyboard case, you can flip the keyboard back and use it in tablet mode. When it's back like this, the hardware keyboard is disabled, so you can hit that as much as you want. Nothing will happen. The software keyboard is the one that becomes active. Now, if you want to take it a step further, you can actually take it off, flip it around, and go that way. So that way you're not hitting the keys and stuff like that. So that's kind of nice. I like that whole setup. I like this whole setup, but oh boy, can you guys see how thick that gets right there? Like, that is big. That is bulky right there. Just to like use as a tablet right there. So you better have big hands if you plan on using it like this. So at the end of the day, who is this iPad for? This was honestly the hardest part of making this video. I struggle answering this question because the 9th generation iPad is still around at that $329 price point. And honestly, that price point is what makes that iPad super good. It doesn't have, the Magic Folio keyboard, but you can get an external mouse or trackpad if you want to use, the Smart Folio keyboard, or the Smart Cover keyboard. These names. And like an external mouse or something like that if you want that kind of setup. They both don't have Stage Manager. They both aren't getting external monitor support. They don't have laminate displays. They're both using the 1st gen Apple Pencil. Where this one kind of starts to get separated out is it has that nice front-facing camera. It has Touch ID in the lock button. It's that modern design. That's where things kind of start to get separated out. But this one starts at $449, which is more than $329, and it starts with 64 gigs of storage. Now, nobody should buy a 64 gig storage iPad in 2022. You will fill that up incredibly fast. Like, if you put some photos, some music, some games, boom, full. Like, you will fill that up incredibly fast. So you kind of have to go with the 256 option. Unless you are really like, hey, Chris, all my stuff is in the cloud. I don't care about having anything local. I just need a handful of apps to do some work, maybe a couple of games. That's it. The 64 gig one's probably okay. But if you want to have stuff local on your device, physically on your device, the 64 gig option is not a good option. Ultimately, what I came up for, like who would benefit from this iPad, is somebody that wants a small, portable computer with cellular. So if you are somebody that travels for work a lot and you just need something that can fold up really nice, it's going to have decent battery life. It gets the typical iPad 10 hours of battery life. For me, when I was working from it all day, about halfway through the day, I'd have to charge up again. It wasn't like critically low, like it wasn't dead, but it was kind of like, like 30%. And I'm like, okay, I got to plug this back in. Now, there's a couple of things I do on my iPad that are not recommended. Like, I don't let it auto lock. So when I walk out of the room, the iPad is still on. I hate auto lock. I turn that off on everything. So my battery life usage is always higher than most people. I still think, like, if you're a parent or if you're a school, that $329 9th gen iPad, that's still the way to go. It's a good iPad. It's fast. It could do all the stuff this iPad can do. So that $329 iPad, I think, is still going to be the way to go for most people. You can take that money you save and buy the keyboard cover and an external mouse and stuff like that. I think this iPad is really for people that just like, hey, I really want a modern looking iPad, but I don't want to spend a ton of money on an iPad Air or an iPad Pro. This is the way to go. Now, the thing to mention, and a lot of people have mentioned this already, the iPad Air 4, not the one with the M1 chip. So this one does not have Stage Manager, does not have external monitor support. That one, refurbished, is the same price as this guy. So if you want like the Magic Keyboard or something like that, maybe look at that option. Now, that being said, almost every day I look to see if those are available. They aren't, because they just get picked up immediately when they go on sale. So it might be a little harder to find those. So that's it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already. My thanks to Ugreen for sponsoring this video. Have a great day.